All right, bang, bang. Today is Wednesday. It is November 3rd. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Today we're joined by Andrew Holleran from Save the Chimps Sanctuary in Florida, one of the largest chimpanzee sanctuaries in the world. Chief is also here on the couch. Andrew, welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, and thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you.
So I guess what's Save the Chimps? It's a chimpanzee sanctuary, but how do you tell people what it is when you see them and you tell them what you do for work?
Yeah, so we're one of the largest chimpanzee sanctuaries. We're home to over 220 chimpanzees. Most of these chimps were used at one point in biomedical research. We also have chimpanzees that have been pets. We've got a few that were in the entertainment industry. And what we try to provide is a life for these chimps who have been through really obviously suboptimal situations, a place where they can thrive like a chimpanzee should. And by thriving, it means a place where they have freedom of choice throughout their day, where they can socialize with other chimps. Our social groups are upwards of 20 chimpanzees large. They live out on large island habitats, so between 4 and 5 acre habitats. So they've got freedom of movement, freedom to socialize, but they also get some of the benefits of captivity, which is balanced nutritional diet and veterinary care and things like that. So what we really strive to do here is have a place where chimpanzees can really thrive, and that means providing individualized care. We've got a lot of chimps that come to us with their own set of challenges to that. Chimps that have been isolated, chimpanzees that have trauma from years in the lab, chimpanzees that might not even really understand that they're chimps. They may have only been around humans for their entire life. So just in getting a chimpanzee the ability to socialize is sometimes a pretty big challenge.
Now, you say you have over 220 chimps and they exist on these 4 to 5 acre plots. How do you decide which chimps live together in terms of socialization, and then I guess how many chimps are in each 4 to 5 acre plot? Is it this chimp is friendly, where this guy is they got similar sense of humor? How do you choose which chimps live together?
It sounds silly, but in a sense, yeah. So we'll do personality profiles with the chimps. It also has to do with kind of the challenges that they've had. As far as determining the size of the groups, they kind of tell us what size they can be. It depends on the group. I mean, some groups are, pretty tenuous at 13, and some groups have 20 and are great. And, for example, we had a chimp come a few years ago. Her name's Allie. And Allie came to us really not understanding that she's a chimpanzee. She had been a pet. She had been raised like a human. She, she said her prayers at night. She would eat from the table from a high chair. She'd brush her teeth. They'd bring her out to restaurants, which apparently you can do in Missouri. And she came to us really not understanding that she was a chimpanzee, and she would see other chimps and she was really terrified of them. Well, we had a chimpanzee that lived in one of our groups, a guy named Spike, and one of our very talented staff, really kind of knowing Spike's personality and knowing what we knew about Allie's personality, knew that might be a good fit. So we slowly introduced her to Spike, and kind of Spike did the work from there, kind of taking her under his wing and introducing her to other chimps. And now Allie lives in a group of with 14 other chimps. She lives out on an island. And she acts like a chimp now. She socializes like a chimp. She vocalizes like a chimp, and actually now prefers to spend more time with the chimps than she does us, which wasn't the case when she first came to us.
How do you distinguish that? Is it as easy as being hey, chimps don't know that they should brush their teeth? And what is it when you're it's oh, okay, this chimp thinks they're a human. What is the big things?
Well, I mean, with Allie, it was pretty obvious. Allie came when Allie got here. She arrived at like 3 a.m. I sat with her all night, and we watched videos on my phone. And she clearly told me what music she liked. She liked 70s Chicago, and she hated 80s Chicago. And we watched through all these videos, and she sat with me, and very, very much like you would sit with a person that wasn't talking to you. And it just, and when she saw other chimpanzees, she would quickly come to the humans and really prefer to be with the humans and the other chimps. She still has a thing. If we give her a toothbrush, she still likes to brush her teeth. She still, those things don't go away, and those aren't things that are maladaptive to her thriving or barriers to that. But what's something that is a barrier to her thriving is kind of a reticence to socializing with other chimpanzees. So that was really the big push there, was to get her to be able to socialize with other chimps, because that's so incredibly important to good welfare.
I'm stuck on that music comment. I'm not going to lie. How do you know that the chimp likes Chicago from the 70s?
Well, I literally would show her video. I had a whole bunch of videos on my phone, and I showed her a live video of them playing 25 or 6 to 4, and she was just transfixed at my phone. And then I showed her Saturday in the park, transfixed on my phone, and then showed her "You're the Inspiration," and she walked away. So, I mean, very clearly was, yeah.
That's wild. Is there like an element of music therapy that you do at your...
I don't know. I mean, I definitely agreed with her taste, and but yeah, I mean, she obviously probably had some familiarity with some of that music, or also, the videos they had the big brass band back then and stuff like that, which she probably really enjoyed.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Are you familiar with the? We talked about this on the podcast yesterday. The Gombe Chimpanzee War in the 70s. That story. Where...
the one that Jane Goodall wrote up with Palm and Passion,
right? And they talked about how this was like this 4-year war that was basically started because they had this kind of like a good king chimp die, and then there's a power vacuum. Is that something that you monitor in these different? I know you called them these 4 to 5 acre islands. Is that like is the social hierarchy something that you really have to pay attention to so it doesn't fall into chaos, or could you be like, we're gonna, it's like we had an alpha die, we're gonna take the second in command from another acre and put him in, so instill him as the alpha? Is that something that you're able to monitor or pay attention to?
Yeah, we definitely 100% we have to monitor those things quite a bit, because we're in a captive situation. Even though we have 5 acres for a group, in the wild, that can be 40 acres, and chimps, when they get to a certain point, if they're outcast from a group, they can they can leave, they can go to another group in the wild, and in captivity they can't. So we have to do that artificially if it gets to that point. So we do what we call welfare assessments on both the chimps and the groups, where we do observations and kind of see how things are going. And occasionally, if a chimpanzee's welfare is being compromised by kind of the group dynamics, we then have to make a very difficult decision to, is this chimp's welfare being served, trying them out at another group. And yeah, sometimes that happens. And it's always difficult when we do that, and we don't do it lightly. But yeah, we definitely have to monitor that, just because of the knowledge that we are in captivity. And even though, we try to provide kind of as naturalistic of an environment as possible, and really a place where chimps can be chimps, we're always mindful of the fact that this is still captivity, and taking care of chimpanzees, there is a real science to it. And part of that is doing these assessments.
And how many did you say you guys have right now?
221 right now.
It's a lot of chimps.
It's a lot of chimps.
And is that how many do you estimate is still captive around the U.S., not at a sanctuary like yours?
I believe the last figure I saw was over 500. However, that there's been off the radar chimps too. So there's some pets that people don't know about, that AZA kind of keeps this list of where captive chimps are. but we've taken in chimps that weren't on that list, that people didn't know about, and there is still unfortunately some breeding going on for pets. I mean, the pet trade is really kind of diminishing quite a bit, but it still happens here and there, and occasionally there was a chimp in Miami that I had no idea was there as a pet chimp that I just found out about a couple of years ago, and no one seemed to know about. So yeah.
Is that your job though? Is that Save the Chimp Sanctuary's job to find them, or you just other people find them?
Yeah.
You guys just take them in?
Yeah, so our mission is to provide sanctuary for chimps in need, and so we are not the ones that go out and find and do that, but we provide care once they get here.
All right, hey, let's take a quick break from talking to Andrew to talk about Dude Wipes. Chief, you love some Dude Wipes.
I love Dude Wipes. I use them almost exclusively in my bathroom now.
How much do I come in here marching and just charging and jolting around? Well, not jolting, I'm not too fast, but, prancing around about the Dude Wiper 1000.
Yeah, I can tell when you've had a nice shit at home.
Exactly.
Thanks to that. Yeah.
I love the Dude Wiper 1000. I love the bidet. You guys need to get it. Trust me. I'm telling you. Go get the Dude Wiper 1000. Your butt will thank you. And stop using shitty, scratchy toilet paper as well. Switch to Dude Wipes. Go to dudewipes.com. Enter code BC15. You get 15% off your order. They're also at Amazon. They're at Walmart. They're at Target. They're everywhere.
You can't not see them. So all those places, those are like, I go to those places at least once a week. Pick them up. It will... Very seldom we promote things that I feel like will genuinely improve your life. This genuinely improves your life. Like if you're not using Dude Wipes, you're fucking up. And I hate to be that direct about it, but they're awesome. It's a great product.
Use code BC15 once again at dudewipes.com for 50% off your entire order. All right, let's hop back into the interview.
Where does the bulk of your funding come from?
Bulk of our funding comes from all private donations.
Okay.
So we don't take any federal funds or anything like that. So we're completely dependent on donations from people that care, and we've got a whole lot of people that care about what we do, and that's a really great thing to do that.
Has there ever been an attempt? We had another, what would you call the guy, the colossal guy, an attempt to rewild any of these chimps that have come into your that you've come in contact with, or are they too far gone for that?
Yeah, not only would they not do well in the wild just because they haven't had the experiences of that, but the habitat in the wild is diminishing so much that it's really hard to kind of rehome chimpanzees to the wild.
Yeah.
There are some sanctuaries in Africa that attempt to do that. But even they usually have to have sort of a cornered off area where the chimps can go. The other thing that's really important to keep in mind is that one of the reasons why it's so important for chimps to socialize with other chimps is that, like humans, chimpanzees are very reliant on social transmission and culture to survive different things. So you might be a chimpanzee in one environment, in one habitat out in the wild, and you're learning different things. You're learning what to eat. You're learning how to behave with this social group. You're learning who to avoid, what kind of other, species can do you harm in that area. And if you go to a different area, they might be learning completely different things.
That makes sense.
So it's hard to take a chimp that, say, maybe lived in someone's garage or lived in a lab and have them learn all those things, similar to how it would be with
And you talk about captivity, and I noticed you make sure you state that, hey, it's still captivity, what you guys are doing. How much has, Tiger King and shows like that kind of hurt your sanctuary because people kind of have that idea now, or has it not at all?
I'm not sure what its effect has been on our sanctuary. I can tell you personally, I thought Tiger King was pretty reprehensible. I thought it kind of equated two very different sides of captivity and kind of made them I think it created kind of a false equivalency there. We in the sanctuary world, no one's getting rich. No one is doing this to exploit anyone or to kind of benefit off off the backs of these residents we have. We're doing this because we really believe in it, and that doesn't mean that there aren't problems within sanctuaries, but versus say kind of a circus or an entertainment venue, which is kind of exploiting the species. And so that's where I didn't really like the false equivalency there.
Gotcha. How did you get involved? It's such like I've never heard of a chimp sanctuary, and it seems like you've dedicated your life to it. So what was it about chimps or this particular sanctuary that led you to choose this life? Where you said like you're not in it to make money. So like what is so attractive about it? And then how did you get involved initially?
Yeah, so I've always been very interested in primates and great apes. I after undergrad started my career off as a zookeeper, then went to grad school and worked in in different nonprofits as well. But really, the mission of this place, always reading about it when it started, was really fascinating. And in the other sanctuaries, Chimp Haven and Center for Great Apes, and seeing the sanctuary movement kind of come about to just kind of provide a home for these individuals that really needed it. So when the opportunity came to be part of it, it really jumped at the chance.
So we talked about the war. We did a show on that yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I think actually, I don't know if you saw the video we made. That's how you guys reached out to us, actually, the one we did on Travis.
Yeah.
The story of Travis, how prevalent is that in your world, and what is that like? What has that story done for you guys and chimpanzees across the U.S., really?
Well, I think the silver lining to the Travis story is it has exposed why chimpanzees don't make good pets. It's also exposed something that I really am sort of keen on trying to educate kind of the public about, is that chimpanzees are not just little almost humans. And I think that's what's done them so much damage in the past, whether it's chimpanzees being used as chimpanzees being used as pets, or chimpanzees being dressed up as humans and used in entertainment and circuses and in movies. And they really aren't little almost humans. They're species with very species-specific needs. They're an incredible species unto themselves. The fact that only in recent history has anyone looked at chimpanzees without sort of comparing them to humans is sad, and it's done both our species a disservice, because chimpanzees are fascinating in their own right, and I think Travis and the story of Travis really exposes that in a really horrific way. But there's a reason why chimpanzees shouldn't sit at the dining table with you, and we are two very different species, and the other thing about having a pet chimpanzee is you're using that chimpanzee for your own gratification, for your own kind of needs, and you're using the chimpanzee for that, and that chimpanzee didn't ask for that. And so I think it can have pretty horrible consequences, obviously.
What's the hardest thing to kind of take back? So when they show up and they think they're a human, is there something that's very hard for them to break once they, realize you guys try to train them to be chimpanzees again?
No, we're not training the chimps do that themselves. So when it's once a chimpanzee gets socialized, it's really amazing to see that get unlocked, to see them kind of become chimpanzees. So we don't have to, we're not out there, saying, oh, this is how you be a chimpanzee and don't do that because it's human. Because again, there's also some very human things they learn when they're pets that's not harmful, and it's they enjoy it. So I think the hardest thing to overcome is just that challenge for chimpanzees to want to socialize with other chimpanzees. But I think once that barrier is taken down, I think that they very quickly become chimpanzees, and it's really kind of one of the most rewarding things that we see is just watching a chimpanzee, watching that become unlocked. But oftentimes there is a fear there of other chimpanzees because they've been raised in a human household and haven't had any experiences with other chimpanzees.
I wonder, do you think, or actually, do you ever have these people who you take them away from? Do they like show up at the grounds? Like if everyone tried to break someone out, how does that work? Because that's such a big part of the, I guess the world of this, right? The animals get so locked in with these families, and
it's like if it's a dog, it does feel like a member of your family. So I think that's interesting.
So, not since I've been here has anything like that happened. We actually try to have a very good relationship with people that have previously, made that mistake of owning chimpanzees. I mean, to imagine, I think sometimes the pet owners get demonized, and I think that they're just as much of a victim in this. They've been kind of sold on this idea of having this kind of little almost human pet. And what ends up happening is that they get, obviously once a chimpanzee stops being an infant, they become very difficult to care for and they become very dangerous. And then you have a chimp owner that may have very much loved this chimpanzee and tried to do everything that they can, not really knowing what to do and where to turn. And I think for that reason, we frequently have, we try to have a good relationship with people that have, surrendered these chimpanzees or wanted them to go to a sanctuary.
Do you have a favorite chimpanzee?
I'm really not supposed to have a favorite chimpanzee, but it's I have to say that it's really hard to not think about Allie when asked that question. The chimp I spoke about, and there's several others, but she's such a we kind of arrived at Save the Chimps at the same time, and so I kind of bonded over that. But also I'm sitting there watching music videos with her. It's hard to
Do you have a favorite chimp fact that you give people? Like what's like an amusing thing that you found?
Yeah, well, a more fascinating fact. I think a lot of people don't know that, the complexity of how chimpanzees communicate. If you were to go to one group of chimpanzees and record all their calls and associate them with behaviors, and then you'd go to another group, you'd find a different set of calls associated with different behaviors, that chimpanzees actually are transmitting kind of this lexicon of vocal communication. I always find that fascinating. And I find it fascinating because, we spent the last 100 years or so trying to teach chimps to communicate by sign language or by lexicon or whatever it is that people have tried to teach chimps, without looking at the fact that chimpanzees have their really amazing communication system all on their own that's not comparable to humans. And I think that kind of really exemplifies what I was saying, that they're so much more than just almost humans. It's you might be able to teach chimpanzees to use ASL, but does that tell you anything about them? What's far more fascinating is what they're doing on their own and how they're communicating with each other in the wild, and the complexities of stuff that they can communicate just by looking at what they can do behaviorally after communication.
Do you have a Jane Goodall type research going on at your facility, or you're just studying them?
No, not at our facility. So that it goes really kind of outside of our mission. We do kind of our own in-house research as far as our welfare assessments and things like that go, but nothing like long-term behavioral research that we're doing.
Gotcha. Well, Andrew, thank you for hopping on. Where could people go check out more about the sanctuary and everything like that?
Yeah, if you go to www.savethechimps.org, we are there, and please know that we are entirely reliant on donations and private donations and things like that, and anything that people can do to help us out is really appreciated.
Yeah, and if you check it out too, like it really is a very impressive place. So at least the videos lead that way.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come out if you're ever in this area.
I would love to come out. Yeah. Thought you'd never ask, Andrew.
Possibly. I'm a little afraid though. You sure these guys are nice?
Well, you wouldn't get close enough to find out. They're on the island, and we'd be watching them from.
Where in Florida are you? Where are you in Florida?
We're in west of Fort Pierce, in the middle of nowhere. We're in
Okay.
the part of Florida no one ever goes to.
Good. I
Awesome.
like that too. All right.
Well, thanks again, Andrew. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Great talking to you guys.
Thanks. All right, everybody. That's it for today. We'll catch you all tomorrow.